All right, what's up, guys? Let's see what we got here. Turn this music down big time. All right, dude. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like the D1 Baseball's website, even ever since they did this kind of, ever since they updated the website, it's just like constantly every day having issues. But we're going to talk about weekend series coming up. What series you guys are going to be watching? Which ones you think are the best ones to watch? Canes, what's up, man? How you doing, bro? Great to see you, man. Great to see you, Canes. Buck, what's up, man? How you doing? Yeah, just waiting, giving everybody a little time to join in. Um, obviously we got second weekend coming up, so we're going to look at some matchups that will be worth watching. Unfortunately, the D1, I was just on D1 baseball, and now it's briefly unavailable for scheduled maintenance, which has been happening ever since they did that update. Excuse me. It's been offline and online and offline pretty consistently. Out west skiing, where are you skiing at, Buck? You in the Rockies, or are you all the way on the West Coast? We used to go skiing every my family. We used to go skiing every like Christmas break-ish. Um, Out in the Rockies, and it's basically once we got into high school, and it was like it was looking like we were actually like going to be getting, we were going to be playing baseball in college and getting scholarship offers pretty seriously. Oh, Whistler, yeah, I've been there. That's awesome, man. I've been to Whistler once. Uh, that drive, I don't know where you flew into. Did you fly into like Vancouver? That drive up to Whistler from Vancouver is pretty scenic. Uh, but yeah, we were. I mean, I was a very good skier for a long time. We actually went a few years ago. It was the first time we'd gone in like a decade. It was so fun. But we stopped going just because we were, didn't want to get hurt skiing right before baseball season. Deaver, what's good? What's up, Deaver? How you doing, man? I'm gonna watch OSU. Hopefully, it will be a competitive game. Yeah, we're gonna go through the matchups. I'm hoping D1 Baseball's website comes back online here soon. We'll be talking through some stuff here while we wait for it to kind of figure it out. Who's OSU playing? And which OSU are you talking about? Oregon State, Ohio State, Oklahoma State. Even though usually people say OK State, but flew into Seattle. But yes, that drive up from Vancouver is epic. Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it's really cool. I remember it. I think my favorite place I ever went skiing was. I mean, certainly in Colorado, there's so many great places. Deaver says I like Vail. I actually never skied Vail. I've done like Deer Park or Deer Valley, Winter Park. Um, a lot of the big like Colorado, uh, Steamboat Springs, Big Sky, Montana was probably my favorite. Just because we skied, but then we got to go see Yellowstone Park and Yellowstone National Park and everything. Eating my burrito for lunch while we wait. Zach, what's up, man? So guys? What D1 Baseball's website is said it should be up very soon. Um, what series are you guys like excited to watch this weekend? Jonathan, what's up, dude? Snow Basin, great for snowboarding. I've never been to Snow Basin. Like I said, we used to do it. We used to go every year, and then like freshman year of high school, maybe sophomore year, we stopped just because like baseball got serious, and it was like we're not. My dad's like, I'm not going to have you guys getting hurt, a month before baseball season starts. But actually, I always wanted to try snowboarding, but like I learned how to ski and was really good. And like I didn't want to spend, once you get good at skiing or, vice versa, like even if you want to try the other, you don't want to spend like 3 or 4 days of your vacation, especially snow. From what I heard from snowboarding, like it's a rough couple a day or two, and then you can pick it up pretty good from there. Um, but like I didn't want to spend like 2 or 3 days of my vacation like figuring it out. I saw something, thinking the K State game where the starting pitcher was a two-way, so he was in the lineup as both a pitcher uh, and DH. Otani rule. Do you know if that rule is allowed in PG travel ball? I would assume. I mean, the high school rules are usually pretty like less or less strict than college and professional. I'm not sure, Buck. I don't want to say one way or the other, but I would assume that that's totally fine. OSU is playing against uh, University of Texas Arlington. Okay, that should be a good series then. Bill Wallace, man, you guys are all making it today. You guys are all making it today. Welcome, dude. You'll be a better skier as an aerial. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Maybe snowboarding's for the terrestrials. Is that what are you saying that? Is that what you're saying as well, Buck? Let's do it. Let's do a D1 baseball check here. Golly, man. We were gonna have a game today with the high school team I work with, but it's like 28 degrees at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And like we were looking at the weather at basically at game time, it was going to be like maybe 31 degrees, probably even colder now with how it's gone. It may even snow here in like 45 minutes. And it was going to be like 24, 25 degrees, like probably in the second or third inning of our game. So everybody moved their games to tomorrow. Michigan versus TCU should be good. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Both 4-0. Yeah, Michigan with a great start to the year. Great start. TCU obviously as well, but Michigan, coming out of that little Puerto Rico tournament, the way they did, beating Virginia. Again, they beat Virginia on Friday without Virginia not having their ace, but still, you beat like one of the best offenses in the country as well. Let's see. Did you see St. John's basketball coach say they're not recruiting any high school players? Yeah, I mean, guys, I mean that's you know that's it's not going to happen in baseball again because the roster is much bigger on a baseball team, right? I mean, you have to recruit, but like I've told you guys, like you're gonna still recruit high school arms. You're gonna still recruit some high school position players, but year by year it's gonna change. But generally speaking, like much harder for position players now. And even on our meeting today, we were talking about pitching and just how, again, there's a lot of really sentiment around college baseball recruiting is just like there's so many really good pitchers that are kind of still on the board, like for the 26s and even 25s, where you're just like, man, 3 years ago, this guy's like committed to a really good school and he's still out there with like nothing on the table. Go on Warren Nolan. They have the best scoreboard in my opinion. All right. Service where I am is so bad, it's insane. Warren Nolan, is that like a website? I'll type it in real quick. We just I'll put the chat overlay up for you guys. UNC East Carolina is good too. That's going to be a phenomenal series. Both really good teams. UNC, I mean, that's going to be one to watch for sure. Feel like temperature in Bay County, Florida is in the high 20s. What? It's crazy, man. It's so cold. I mean, it's usually still cold around this time, but like it's not in the 20s. That's crazy. Virginia, Oregon State. Golly, we got some good ones this weekend. Is that is that in another tournament, or is that just a weekend, like a 3-game series? It's warmed up to the high 30s, was in the 20s this morning. Yeah, dude, it was supposed to be in the 30s by now, right now. And I went upstairs. I was having lunch with my wife and like my 3-year-old, my 1-year-old's asleep. And I look at the temperature. It says 28, and it's like sunny. It's sunny and clear outside, so it's like it's legit 28. It's not like it's cloudy and everything. It's like sunny out there. It's supposed to, and they were supposed to maybe get snow here in like 40 minutes. It's warmed up. Okay, Bill Wallace, going to freeze my butt off at University of Maryland all weekend watching my nephew play D3 ball, Lycoming versus Marymount. Okay, nice. Yeah, good luck up there, man. You better bring some serious cold gear. Who's up? Let's see what's next. Aiden Rebound. Besides Georgia Tech, do you have a favorite college team? Not really, man. I just enjoy the sport. I enjoy watching really good coaches and how they like impact their team, not only through recruiting, but in-game decisions, bullpen management, other things like that. So I don't really have like Georgia Tech, I played there. So like, that's the school that, I'm going to root for. And that's my alma mater, right? That's going to be my team. Obviously in the recruiting world, like that doesn't really play a role. It's more just like, I'm trying to get kids to the best place they can go. And where they can get a chance to play, right? That's the most important thing. But besides Georgia Tech, not really. I just enjoy watching base. Like obviously, like Josh Elander, Luke Bonfield, Quentin Eberhard at Tennessee. Like those guys, I was teammates with all of those guys, and Q was our strength coach, Quentin Eberhard. They're all at Tennessee now, so I enjoy watching those guys. I enjoy watching like Todd Indonato's team, Boston College, who that speed style offense. Virginia is going to be fun to watch this year because I think they are going to run a lot. They think they stole 10 bases over the weekend or something like that. So I just enjoy watching the game, man. I do think college baseball more is probably the purest you'll see the game, even with NIL coming in. It is changing it, but even my dad would say that when he was running Major League Baseball teams, like he was the college game is the purest form of baseball because it's just like you're there with your buddies, you're trying to win a championship, you're doing anything you can to win a game, team first type stuff. You really see the thing about college baseball, and again, it has kind of moved a little bit away from it, but you just see like fundamental baseball being played. Where you're seeing guys move runners. You're seeing like teams this past week, like Cincinnati taking down Duke. Like they were just playing small ball, and it was like they're just playing small, and they just small balled the crap out of Duke, and it destroyed the defense had pressure on them at all times. Let's see, Buck. Like you said, pitching is notably weak in college baseball now. Typically, early season pitching is ahead of hitting, but did not see much dominant pitching last weekend. Well, there were some like Georgia Tech's bullpen so far has been utterly dominant. Again, like you said, Buck, it is early. It's cold out there. Like hitters are trying to get going. Like if you look at Georgia Tech's offense, two of their guys who are probably going to be their best hitters are Kyle Lodis and Drew Burris. They're both hitting like 200 or lower right now. So like hitting, you're exactly right. Pitching is going to be ahead of hitting early. That's why I do look for indicators that are going to show future success. And like one of the indicators for Georgia Tech right now is they are missing bats and they're not walking guys. And so you're right though. Like I said, with hitting, if your team is struggling to hit right now, do not panic. Like you need 3 or 4 weekends to really have an idea of what your offense is going to look like. If 4 weekends in they're still struggling, like that's an issue. And there's ways, there's some indicators you can look at hitting wise, but I just think pitching, it's way more upfront about where they're struggling and if that's something that's going to continue or not. Let's see, what did Bill say here? I'm lost at where I am in this chat, guys. Okay, here we go. Watching Samford versus Tennessee in Jack's College Baseball Classic and the HBCU tournament that will be on MLB Network. Nice. Yeah, I mean, Tennessee has just looked unbelievable to start the year, which no surprise, right? They haven't really played anybody, but they're beating teams like 29-4 or whatever. So Tennessee's starting out great. UVA, OSU is Round Rock Tourney. Nice round. Yeah, those early game tournament, those are gonna be sick. Not in Miami. It's 85 degrees. Must be nice, man. I remember growing up in like Fort Lauderdale, just outside of Miami, and like I moved when I was about 9 or 10 years old, and I don't ever remember like wearing pants. Like I don't remember wearing pants. I always was barefoot running around outside. So when I moved to Maryland, when my dad got GM job with the Orioles, it was like a total culture shock because I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's freezing out here. And my mom said like the first day we moved there, like all three of us, me and my two brothers, were just running around with like shorts, short sleeve shirt on, and no shoes, and it was like 40 degrees, 35 degrees outside. May go watch Shelton State versus Gulf Coast today, depending on how cold it is. That'll be a good one. Again, it's just like it's crazy how cold it is right now. I saw a lot more freshman pitchers than hitters. To your point, that D1 is taking hitters from the portal, but still will look for high school pitching. Yeah, exactly. I mean, because pitching again, it's like we've had like Buck, like we've talked about this a bunch. Like it's just easier to project pitching. Stuff is easier to project. If guy throws strikes, it's easier to project. Much hard. I mean, there are plenty of hitters that coaches see and think are going to be really good players at the next level, and then they just don't. They fizzle out, right? And again, there's certain things that maybe you can look at in high school, right? If a guy's making good swing decisions or not, swinging good pitches, taking bad pitches, but it's just much harder to project on a hitter, just way harder. So you're going to go with the proven portal bat. I mean, that doesn't mean you're not going to go with some portal arms, but it's just much easier to project, excuse me, that a high school arm is going to actually play for you. Jacksonville is hosting Alabama, Coastal Carolina, NC State, and Ohio State. Which game would you recommend going to? Whew, all of them? I mean, those are all going to be good. Like, I want to see how Justin Hare, like, I'm excited to see how Ohio State does this year with Justin Hare at the helm. Obviously, when he was at Campbell, they ran an explosive offense. They hit bombs, they steal bases. Like, they are coming full steam ahead at you at all times. So I would, I'm really excited to see what Justin Hare does at Ohio State. They started out 0-3, so a little rough for Ohio State, but the pitching's got a 10-2 ERA to start. So the pitching is struggling a bit for Ohio State. But it'll be interesting to see kind of what he does with that program moving forward. But I mean, shoot, dude, you can't make a bad decision there. And Coastal Carolina, NC State, and Ohio State. I mean, Alabama. They're all going to be good. I'm in Fort Lauderdale right now. I have shorts on and a hoodie on. I always wear hoodies in 85 to 100 degree weather. Canes, are you a psycho? Are you a psychopath? All right. D1 Baseball's website still down. We're going to use Warren Nolan. College baseball. Do they have like the matchups on here? Let's see. There is a game today at 3 p.m. Georgia versus UIC. And it's in Athens. Oh, wait, that's not what I want to do. All right, let's see the games tomorrow. Here we go. We got matchups. Okay. So Ohio State, North Carolina State tomorrow in Jacksonville. That's going to be a great game. Michigan, TCU, both 4-0, like you guys talked about. That's going to be at Globe Life Field in Arlington. Tennessee, Samford off to a 3-1 start. Let's look at some other notable series. Wake Forest, St. John's. Even though St. John's off to an 0-3 start, St. John's typically is like one of those one of the best programs in the Northeast. Virginia, Oregon State. That is going to be a banger. But that's in the Round Rock Classic, so they're only playing one game. Oregon State is 4-0 to start. Virginia 2-1, obviously. Let's see. North Carolina, East Carolina, like one of you guys mentioned, that's going to be a great. That's going to be a great series. LSU's playing Omaha. I think we know how that's going to go. Vandy versus St. Mary's. St. Mary's is 4-1 to start, so we'll see how that goes. Texas versus Dartmouth. Nebraska versus Louisiana. That'll be a good series. All right, let's go. Okay, here we go. We'll go this. All right, we're just going. All right, Iowa, Notre Dame. That should be a good series. Let's see. Georgia Tech versus Marshall. That's probably not going to. I mean, Marshall's 0-4. Georgia Tech's 4-0. Western Carolina at Maryland. All right, we got a bunch of you guys typing. I got to catch up here. Let's see which ones. Watching Wichita State versus Hawaii tonight, ESPN Plus. What time does that game start? Probably like 11 p.m. Hey, Kyle. After reading that book on motor preferences, do you think a regular dad like me could get a basic sense of my son's type? Thanks. Yes, I think you can. Again, I think you can get a general idea. Is it going to be perfect? No. Motor Preference Experts does do assessments. So if that's something you're interested in, I think it's honestly, I've talked to them. I know I don't want to like talk about their price because I'm not affiliated with them and I don't want to, again, that's their pitch to people. But from what I know, what like a biomechanics assessment costs versus what a motor preference expert assessment costs, it's much cheaper. I'll put it like that. So again, if that's something you are really thinking about, like just go do it. Go get a motor preference experts assessment done. And that way you'll have it. You know what I mean? But certainly you can identify things. Like there's a lot of things I could identify about myself just from reading the book. Miami versus Princeton. Daniel Cuvée needs to get him going before we go to Florida next weekend. 7 Ks and 12 at bats. Yeah. And again, man, like I'm not worried about Cuvée because I think he still is hitting the ball hard when he's putting it in play. But every hitter goes through that. Like there's a lot of hitters that go through those first couple weekends of college play, and you're just kind of searching for it. Like that's what we call it. Like you're searching for the feel, you're searching for the like consistent path. And that's what's going on with him right now. He's going to be fine. LSU plays straight cupcakes in non-conference. WTF? Yeah, they do. And again, it's like I think Jay Johnson, Josh Jordan, those guys, like they know, like for LSU, if they do well in conference, they're going to be a host, right? And so you just want to, like, there's two ways to think about it, right? You either play a very tough non-conference schedule to prepare for conference play, or you can play like an easier non-conference schedule and just build the confidence of your team. Now, are they going to be seeing the stuff that they're going to be seeing in the SEC? No. Could that hurt them? Possibly, but baseball is probably more psychological than physical, as Yogi Berra would say. It's like 90%, 50% physical, 90% mental. So just a confidence boost of maybe facing subpar competition and getting that confidence done or solidified could be big. Missouri and UCF tonight. That's a game they're playing tonight too. I swear I only saw one game on there. Maybe I was under the top 25. You're probably right. Buck B, Patrick, my only frustration with the book was that it didn't give much detail on how to assess all the different aspects of motor preference, except for terrestrial versus aerial. Yeah, I talked. So obviously I had that meeting with one of their guys, and actually David Genest, who's one of the authors, he kind of in reference he tweeted about some of the videos I've done on motor preference and like really like loving the videos and thinking I explain the things pretty well. He said that I think he's going to come out with they're going to come out with a second book that goes way more into detail. So maybe that, because I think this, let's be honest, like motor preferences is it's like a 10-mile deep rabbit hole you could go down. And I think like with the book, what they didn't want to do was what they wanted to give is a general understanding of the different preferences and not go like halfway deep so that people like kind of, again, so I think they're going to maybe come out with the second book. I've actually talked with them. Like one of the things I said in the meeting was that I'd love to like fly out, whatever, and kind of go through an assessment or see an assessment being done and maybe video it, whatever, just so people can see kind of what goes into an assessment. And their one balk at that was they don't want people who don't know what they're doing to kind of try to mimic it. And basically, like my rebuttal to that was like, I totally understand. That makes like perfect sense. But at the same time, like that will happen at some point, right? That's going to happen. You see that with like the amount of biolabs that are out there, biomechanic labs that are out, not biolabs. Let's not get into that conversation. The biomechanics labs that are out there who are kind of like, they're mimicking driveline, and some of them are really good. Some of them are run by guys who don't know what they're doing. And so that like, they don't want to have people being led astray. And my whole point was like, the only reason I bring that up is because I just want people to see, oh, okay, this is what goes into an assessment. Yeah, I want to get that done. Right. And because I think it'd be great for just marketing for them in general. Thanks. I haven't finished the book. I've confused a bit by the info. It's good, dude. It's just for the surface level. It's deep, right? It's it's way deeper than most surface level things you read. I've said this many times. You got to read that. You got to read this book. Like you got to go through the different preferences multiple times. Like this is a book that you're not going to remember everything you read the first time you read it. Motor preferences are definitely a thing. I spent a lot of time telling my son to be bouncier and lighter on the mound. He couldn't do it. He would just drop and drive. Wasted a lot of time. Yeah. I wish the MP guys would do some videos doing the assessments, easier to understand than diagrams in a book. Yeah, and I think, obviously, I'm not going to hold my breath, but I do think, like, maybe that's something that once, like, Matt Swope is out of season, maybe something we'll be able to get done and get figured out. I would love to do it. Again, they don't need to. It's their decision. I'd love to do it because, again, like I'm a former professional player who played at the highest level, was this close to playing in the big leagues multiple times and have a really good idea of kind of all the new age baseball stuff. So I'd love to see it because I just want to see what goes into an assessment. I talked to Matt Wood. Yeah, he's one of the guys I talked to. The cost for an evaluation is reasonable, and there is an option to have them watch my son hit, throw, etc. I'm close to U of Maryland, so I may do it when it warms up. Yeah, dude, I think it's like you said, Bill, it's like it's very reasonably priced for what else is out there, right? Like you're talking biomechanics labs that are charging like, $1,500 to $2,000 for an assessment that's like an hour and a half long. So like what Motor Preference Experts is charging is, and this is for the high school players, like their professional players are paying more, right? And they're getting a more, they're like, because those guys, probably should be paying more, but the high school player price point is very reasonable. Either that, or they have to make it more accessible, as their site says full MP assessments are only open to pro athletes. Need to scale it. They should certify other trainers to do assessments. Yeah, and I think they are in the process of doing that, Buck. From what I heard, like they are going to do that. But yeah, I like you're right. Like it needs to be something where they have they need to start, like, really what I see happening is them having facilities open up around the country with people that are certified running them. And I think it's the future. I really do. It makes a lot of sense. But okay, let's look into more of these matchups for the weekend. Okay. Again, I'm not going to bring up every matchup. UNCG versus Virginia Tech, that'll be a good series. West Virginia Lipscomb, that'll be a good series. TCU Michigan, we already said that. North Carolina, East Carolina, we said that. Washington, Stanford. Washington being in the Big Ten is hilarious. Alabama and Coastal Carolina, that'll be a great matchup down in Jacksonville. Princeton versus Miami. I know Canes and Zach are going to be watching that. Even though who knows? Well, I think Miami should take that series. USC Rice. USC off to a 5-0 start. Andy Stankiewicz. I played with his son in pro ball. Alan Dickerson. Are they doing motor preference assessments in the Atlanta area? I do not think they have them in the Atlanta area yet. I don't think so. They do have a few different places in the Northeast from talking to them. I think they may be trying to get what they're trying to do is get coaches certified that can then do the assessments wherever they're at. So it could be soon. A better business model is to make the assessments cheap and then charge for training programs to maximize performance based on what MP you are. I agree, right? You make it the assessment affordable, and then, hey, based on your assessment, we have a customized program for you. Strength training, baseball development, like feels, swing thoughts, pitching thoughts, like pitch thoughts, like everything like that. 4 games, though. Very tough to sweep a team 4-0. That's true. Going to come down to the Saturday pitching if we can save our bullpen. But you remember, like, Princeton's going to have the same issue, right? So the question is, Miami definitely is going to have more depth than Princeton as far as, like, talent of the pitching staff. So really what it comes down to is not necessarily, like, saving your bullpen. The question comes down to in a 4-game series, are those bottom 4 or 5 pitchers going to throw enough strikes, or are they just going to are they going to just crap the bed, for lack of a better term, and walk the house and then give Princeton opportunities to score? That's really the same thing is true in a regional or in the ACC tournament. If you're now with the new format in the ACC tournament, it's like if you're one of the lowest seeds, you're going to have to play 5 games. And that championship game, it's going to be about, if the guys you're going to have to use, or maybe in the 4th game, are they just serviceable enough to throw strikes and kind of keep you in the game? We need some love in Atlanta. Man, we got a lot in Atlanta, Alan. But yeah, I would love to. And again, I'd be interested in kind of working with MP uh, down here for sure. I also agree with you about the 2026 pitchers still being on the market. The mid majors are picking up some of them, like that kid from Berkeley Prep I sent you the other day, committed to Rice. Yeah, it's there's a lot of 26 recruiting classes out there from like solid mid major programs that have like one guy, and like a lot of schools we talked about in our meeting today are saying, we're maybe 15 games in, 30 games in, we'll know again because now recruiting is so year to year. So what a lot of decisions are being made is, okay, let's say we brought in 10 freshmen. All right, how many of these freshmen are actually going to be keepers for us? Is it going to be 4, 3? They don't know. Aiden Rebaum, I hope I'm saying your name right. Do you like the Arm Care app? Just to be honest, I don't know much about it. Let me look here. Let me just do like a cursory look at it. And like here's my problem, Aiden, with a lot of these, like in an app. It's hard to really do a good job with individuals when you're basically like a large scale mass market type thing. So like for our recruiting service, none of our guys work with more than 45 guys at a time because we just don't feel like you can do a good job for the individuals if you go above that number. So the same is true in development. If your app is being used by a bunch of different people, and again, it's not taking your motor preferences into account, it's probably like decent, right? But is it like doing the best job? I don't know. I can't give an endorsement of it because I've never used it. And again, it's like it's identifying weak links and everything, but it's like, well, maybe it's a weak link because of your motor preference, and it's like, well, we need to fix this. Well, if it's not your motor preference, and you're trying to fix something, it could lead to an injury. So it's I'm sure it's okay, but above that, is it amazing? Probably not. Canes, I still think high school is the way to build and to supplement through the portal for the ACC and SEC schools. Mid majors, I think all transfers can make sense. Yeah, like, and that's really what you're seeing at the mid major levels. Like, they may go after a few position players, but they're really the only high school players they're going to recruit. Like the mid majors are still 100% going to be recruiting high school arms, but there's a lot of them moving away from high school position players. And now with the smaller rosters coming next year, you don't need as many guys, right? But there's going to be some really good games this weekend. Let me keep going through. Wright State, Auburn. That'll be a good series. So I mean, there's going to be man, it's just like every weekend we got really good, and then after this weekend, we're a couple weekends away from ACC conference play for everybody. Warren Nolan does the ELO ranking right now. So according to Warren Nolan, Georgia Tech is now number 24 in the country. USC is 22. It's interesting. I'd love to see the formula for this. But right now, their top 25 is A&M, Tennessee, North Carolina, LSU, Oregon State, Arkansas, Florida State, Virginia, Florida, Georgia, Vanderbilt, Oregon, Wake Forest, Duke, Clemson, TCU, North Carolina, Texas, Mississippi State, Southern Miss, South Carolina, USC, UC Santa Barbara, Georgia Tech, Dallas Baptist. Position players are in a bad spot. Yes, position players, and that's why when I make my videos on YouTube, I'm always emphasizing, like, if you're a position player out there, like, one, you need to change your idea of uh kind of where your possibilities are going to lie in college, but also you better start working very hard to turn yourself into a very versatile player, right? Because there is a ton of value in having a guy on your roster who can play middle infield, corner infield, outfield. And like I said this, I mean, if you're a high school first baseman or corner outfielder, you better mash, and you better mash hard, because otherwise you're not going Division 1. It's going to be very hard, because they're just taking portal guys in those positions. Look at Georgia Tech. Kent Smith, they got from Georgia Southern. He's playing first base for him. Let me see. And again, the Power Four schools are going to be able to get those high end high school players, right? So at Tennessee, you're going to see, like, maybe a high school first baseman, and maybe some other positions, because they can get the best of the best. But once you get out of that category of schools that gets the best of the best high schoolers, you have to start getting the proven guys out of college. And you better not be striking out. So many high school kids strike out now. It's insane. Yeah, I mean, it's really bad. And there was a great tweet about it. I'll pull it. I'll show you guys yesterday. That I just thought was amazing. And this is the issue. And I've been saying this, right? But, like, I get called an idiot when I say this. I'll pull it up for you guys. So this tweet yesterday from Bradley Baseball. I don't know who this guy is. Former sports writer, Jeff Bradley. Oh, okay, it's Jeff Bradley. Okay. Teaching young hitters to hit fly balls before they can carry the ball 300 plus with regularity is sort of like teaching young basketball players to dunk before they can even touch the rim. A few will one day dunk, just as a few will one day have home run power. I mean, bam. He said it perfectly. Zach says, Kyle, you're right. Just watching teams like Stetson and FAU, the lineup is transfers from big time D1 to JUCO and experienced juniors, seniors. Yeah. So, like, you're just the hitters, again, like your freshman hitters that would typically end up at an FAU or a Stetson. Don't get me wrong. There may be like one or two good freshman hitters, but the rest of them are kind of just average, right? And they're not difference makers. Well, now at FAU and Stetson, you can get guys that maybe you can get a guy that you couldn't have got who was at a big school and now he's in the portal. Well, now he's going to come to Stetson and maybe he's going to ball out there. If you looked at Georgia Southern's roster, the lineup, they had Jet Lovett and Nico Sines, who both were former Georgia Tech players that really had got some playing time, but were not everyday starters. And now they're everyday starters at Georgia Southern, and they're making Georgia Southern better. So all these mid majors are, again, like, the position players are portal guys. Not all of them, but like most of them. But I mean, this tweet is so great, because what's happening now, guys, for high school hitters is, and I see this with the high school team I work with, is you have guys who don't have nearly the power to be hitting the ball in the air consistently, right? Because remember, in the big leagues, you hit the ball in the air, it's good because, well, everyone in the big leagues, if you're in the upper levels of professional baseball, like double A, triple A, big leagues, your best bolt in the air is a home run every time, right? So if you're hitting it 108 off the bat and it's at a 28-degree launch angle, it's a home run. Well, these kids in like middle school are training, are doing the teacher man stuff. They're doing they're trying to launch everything and they're not learning how to hit and hit line drives. So they're not good hitters. And when they do, like I'm not kidding. I watch BP and these guys hit it. They hit it in the air and it gets caught at like 260 feet. Or sorry, not 200. Yeah, about like 200 and maybe a little over 300. But like, again, that's not a home run in any park, in any park. So hitters are being trained. There's so many guys. I promise you this. There's so many hitters right now that are being trained to hit like they're Aaron Judge or Tristan Casas or some, another just a power hitter, right? They're training to be that guy because all they see in the big leagues and on MLB Network and on social media is like, well, if you're not hitting the ball in the air, you're not good. That's how you're good. You hit the ball in the air. Well, the problem is now when these guys are getting scouted by college coaches, all they do is hit flyouts. And the college coach is like, he's not very good. Whereas if he is just hitting line drives in the gap, and he's a little bit undersized or whatever, but he's, again, if 2009 Kyle Wren was trying to launch angle, hit the ball in the air, no one would have recruited me. No one would have recruited me because that wasn't my game. I was a speed guy. Now did that, and the point is that as you develop, like my dad's the story of Freddie Freeman is the best. Why Freddie Freeman is like a 300 hitter every year, and he hits bombs, and he drives in runs, is because when he was young in the Braves system, they did not push him to hit home runs early. They wanted him to become a pure hitter. And, the Keith Laws of the world and all these other sports writers said, well, Freeman's not going to be a good major league player. You can look this up because he doesn't hit for enough power. And my dad's response to that was, have you ever seen him hit BP? Like, the power's in there. The power is going to come. But if we just force it, and this is how every minor league, this is how everyone is taught in the minor leagues now, because I was there. They immediately are like, you got to hit power. You got to hit for power. You got to hit for power. You got to hit for power. So Freddie Freeman, he's an all-star every year because not only does he hit for power, but he's actually a very good hitter too. And that was the old school idea of development. It's like, help him learn how to hit, turn him into a pure hitter. Once they have that confidence of the hitter, of a hitter, and they can manipulate their swing and everything, the power will show up. But if you force them to hit for power, they may hit for power, but they're going to be a 240 hitter, right? And that's what you see across the entire major. And I had a huge conversation yesterday with people, and it's amazing the disrespect and kind of just like, I had multiple people yesterday on X tell me, you have no idea how major league hitting works. And I'm sitting there like rolling my, like, what? I have some guy sitting in a computer that probably never played even baseball in high school telling me, who was in big league camp with multiple organizations in AAA, this close to playing in the big leagues, that I don't know how big league hitting works. And I'm like, no, you don't know. You think you know because you look at a spreadsheet. You don't know about the psychology of a hitter. You think, oh, the numbers say this, so he's going to be good. No, the reason Brett Phillips was not what he could have been in the big leagues wasn't because of his talent. It was because when you get to the big leagues, there is so much pressure on you. And this is true of a lot of high school players that end up fizzling out in the big leagues because they really never played. They didn't start as a freshman in college and have the pressure of like, if I don't perform, I'm going to get benched. They didn't have that experience, right? That's why college hitters generally are much better in pro ball because we know how to perform under pressure. And so the reason guys like Lewis Brinson, Brett Phillips, who come out of high school and don't achieve what you think they're going to achieve, one, I mean, they weren't as good at hitters as people thought. That's for sure. But they have never played with that kind of pressure before. And certainly it's even more pressure than what you experience in college. But again, they're going from high school, which is like they were so talented, they never were worried about not playing, to in the big leagues, if I don't perform, I'm getting sent to AAA. That's pressure, man. And if you don't account for that when you're thinking about calling up a hitter to the big leagues, you're missing something. And that's what I was trying to say is like, listen, hitting is not just the physical. In fact, what most major league hitters would tell you is they've seen so many guys with really good swings that can't hit. Whereas like the best hitters are the best up here. The best up here. How do you deal with failure? Right? You're failing in the big leagues. I can promise you, because I've talked to a bunch of guys about it. You're thinking, what's going through your head is, man, am I getting sent down after the game? Am I getting sent down after the game? So if you don't have guys that are mentally tough and you don't know their makeup, which is something that really gets so messed up, it's unbelievable. Like I see people writing about players all the time. They're like, the makeup's unbelievable. Makeup's insane. And I've played with them and I'm like, what? Have you seen this guy? He takes it. He freaks out after his first at bat. But again, buddy, you hit 300 in AAA. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying I know everything, but I know a little something. I grew up with a dad who was a general manager in a front office VP for 40 years almost. Next time they say that, just send them your stats. Well, no, see, the problem is this, like Canes, the problem is this, what they'll say is like, you actually, I've had people tell me this, you actually weren't that good of a hitter because you didn't really hit for a lot of power. And I was talking, because one the tweet I was talking about was Jonathan Lucroy, who, funny enough, our careers were, how my career turned out was like hugely linked with Jonathan Lucroy, and we can talk about that. And it was talking about how like basically hitting now is impossible because the pitchers are so good. And I'm like, please don't say that. I faced a lot of these guys that are in the big leagues now. They were not impossible to hit. Hitters are not being trained to have good approach, put the ball, like fight to put the ball in play in certain situations, right? There are situations where like a strikeout is more preferable to putting the ball in play if you're going to like ground it to a double play with bases loaded, stuff like that. The problem is guys are not trained to like, okay, manipulate your swing here so that if you do put it in play, you're going to hit it in the air, which you can do if you're a good hitter. And so my point was like, it's not impossible. It's just hitters are basically told striking out's okay. All we care about is you hitting for power. And so the product you're seeing on the field is based on how hitters are being trained. Generally speaking, some people are doing a great job, but a lot of people are not. Bill, what would you tell 2025s recruited 2+ years ago that are corner outfitters who don't have power? Figure out a tool that you're really good at. Speed. I don't, again, if you're an elite hitter, you're still going to be fine. But figure it out quick. Turn yourself into an elite player somehow. It's hard to know without exactly kind of the talent level of the players. You're 100% right. My son has always been a kid who loves to hit singles and steal bags. I can't tell you how many coaches get on his case and say he needs to lift the ball more power. Yeah, I mean, that was me. I was like I hit line drives and ground balls and stole a lot of bases. Like that was my game. If I had tried it for power, again, like think about it. If I especially in the era of college baseball I played, with the dead ball era, ball went nowhere. If I got to college and was trying to lift the baseball, I sure as hell wouldn't have been a freshman All-American. I wouldn't have led the ACC in hits. I wouldn't have done all these things that I did in my career. And so it's just like you need to you need to cater what you're teaching a hitter to the like what the player what type of player he is and how good he is and what are his batted ball results and what is his exit velo max and what is his average exit velocity. And if it's not high enough, you can't be like, all right, let's just start hitting the ball in the air. You're just going to be out. Let's say you're a high school senior and you get drafted in the first round and you have a D1 offer. What would you choose? I would sign. I mean, if you're getting multiple millions of dollars, it's just it's a very dumb decision to go to not sign. Don't get me wrong. Does that mean a lot of those guys take the money and never make it, right? But like, how do you turn down multiple $1 million? That's very hard to do. I mean, it's a tough decision, right? But like the likelihood that you're going to go to college and still get offered that same amount of money is very low. Some guys do it. Like Drew Burress is probably more than likely he will make more money in college than he would have out of high school. He did turn down, from what I heard, 7 figures. I'm guessing anywhere from 1 to 2 million. It's very likely that he will get that or greater out of college as long as he stays healthy and does what everyone knows he can do. But that is the outlier. That is not the norm. Most guys, there's so many guys that turn down millions of dollars out of high school because they wanted 7 million instead of 5. And then they get to college and they suck. And they're like not even they're not even a starter or like an all conference caliber player. And they should have taken the money. So it would be very hard for me to recommend someone to be like, no, go to school. But excuse me, the other part of this conversation that was being had on X was, well, pitchers now can just perfect their spin rate and do this. Well, okay. But we have the same technology available to hitters. We can't optimize swing paths. We can't optimize adjustability of hitters. We can't do that. Because at the same time that hitters are getting or pitchers are getting better from what we're told, and they objectively they probably are getting better. At that same time, hitters seem to be getting worse, and what we expect of hitters seems to be getting lower and lower. And my point is that certainly hitters can be better than they currently are. And this is no offense to anybody, but you just guys, I want you to take a second, go through Major League Baseball teams' staffs and look at their hitting coaches and some of their assistant hitting coaches, and then look up their resume. You will quickly find that the people teaching Major League hitters never played in college, maybe played at a random small JUCO out there somewhere, coached in high school. And because no one wants to coach in the minor leagues, generally speaking, because they don't pay well, you're gone from your family for 7 months, they're hiring like anybody they can find to take jobs in the minor leagues. And so just look at Major League Baseball staffs. Some of them have great staffs, but if you look through, I guarantee if you look through like 20 of them right now, you would look at some of these guys and you'd be like, holy cow, that guy's teaching like Mookie Betts, or not, sorry, I'm not talking about the Dodgers, but a Mookie Betts caliber player is his hitting coach. So, I mean, that's all you have to do. Just go look at that. Which do you think it's harder to say no, the position player out of high school or the pitcher when it comes to the money? And who is more than likely to be right that they bet on themselves? Pitchers 100% more likely to make it. Position players, I mean, you're flipping a coin, right? But nowadays, how it works, like typically your first rounders are going to make the big leagues just so the front office kind of saves face. But the chances of you having like any kind of career in the big leagues is very low if you're signing out of high school. I mean, it's low, right? 40 to 45% of the major leagues is made up of college players. Um, and then, you got like 20% to 25% are international. Um, and so you have like a much smaller percentage of it. May even, I have to I'd have to look up the numbers again, but like the amount of high school players in college baseball is low percentage wise. I try to explain to a lot of parents and players and coaches how tough the pro life is, no matter how much talent you have. So much more to pro ball than just playing the game. JUCO didn't prepare me. Yeah, I mean, like the thing about pro ball is like you have to have good habits. Like you're playing every day. There's no days off. There's more days off now in the minor leagues than there was before. Um, and I mean, I'll give you guys an example of like a AAA travel day from Colorado Springs. When I made it to AAA, we had to fly out of Denver, which is about an hour and 15, hour and 20, hour and a half from Colorado Springs. So in AAA, you have to take the earliest flight possible so that you don't, miss a flight or it gets delayed and you don't make the game. So we'd play a game. By the time game's done, showered, get back to our place, it's probably, if it was a 7:05 start, it's probably 11:15, maybe later. We get a text, hey, make sure you're at the field by 2:45. Now, do you think it's easy to sleep knowing you need to wake up in about 2 hours to shower, get dressed, make sure you have everything packed? Now you're flying, now you're on a bus for an hour and a half to the airport. Now you're getting on a flight on some of these planes you'd fly on, you're like, I hope we make it. And then, you get to the hotel. By the time you're in, let's say you're flying to New Orleans, by the time you get to the hotel, it's probably 10:30, 11 o'clock, maybe a little bit later. And you don't want to take a nap because you're kind of like already awake. You're not, even though you're exhausted. One of my good friends who, when I first made it to AAA, he's like, hey, don't drink a coffee until you get to the field. Like, do not drink an energy drink or a coffee to get to the field, get back, try to take a quick nap, go get some lunch, get an energy drink on the way to the field or whatever. So then you play a game that night. And like the joke was, I hope I get a hit or a walk tonight. Because you're literally just running on fumes. Tim Anderson recently talked about this in a podcast, how he got caught up looking at his metrics and trying to hit for more power, and it tanked his game. But yeah, Tim Anderson, I came up against him. We were in the All-Star game together in high A, played against each other in double A. Really talented guy. I mean, just electric hands as a hitter. Just, you could not get a fastball by him. And 100% what happened to Tim is you have a hitting coach in the big leagues. Not like, again, this isn't like 100%, but this is what I've heard. That had never played the game, has no idea how the game works, no idea how hitting in professional baseball works, how it doesn't understand the game. Like, I'm trying to explain this to you guys. You have people at the highest level of the game who have no idea how the game works. And so what you have is like a guy who never played at a high level, who really knows like the metrics and the analytics, like it's hard, and is telling a Tim Anderson, who's an elite hitter, hey, I know you were an all-star last year, but like we got to get this metric higher. And if we get this metric higher and we increase your average launch angle a little bit, like you're gonna be way better. And again, there's a difference, and you're telling him that like in season, which is ridiculous. Trying to make adjustments, like physical swing adjustments in season, is a nightmare to do. And so Tim Anderson, he all of a sudden falls off, right? Falls off. And that's what is going on, guys. That's what's going on. And undoubtedly, there's some of those guys that are really good and know when to say things and everything. But the reason you're seeing kind of hitting just like collapse, the art of hitting is what I would call it, collapse, And what you're seeing is really just a bunch of swinging. Now, not again, that's a generalization. That's not everybody. But that's certainly what happened to Tim. And that's happened to a lot of players. That's happened to a lot of players who have kind of fallen for it, right? And if you're not, and there are, I'm not saying all those guys are bad. There are some guys up there, typically the ones that have some pro playing experience, because again, like if you don't understand how difficult it is to hit in pro ball, and you just have no business talking to a major league hitter. I'm sorry, without at least another guy on staff that has. Because the last thing, if you're thinking mechanics in the box facing like a Josh Hader or a Max Scherzer or something, you're out. You're out. You got to spend 100% of your focus on seeing the pitch, reading it, reacting to it. And if you're thinking, all right, well, I got to get, I'm trying to get some more VBA here, like you're out. Canes, he almost became our hitting coach this year, but Dominguez got the job. Do you think Mike Tassar told him that, Kyle, or was it the analytics team? Mike Tassar is the hitting coach for the White Sox, I believe. He is a Hurricane alum. I'll tell you exactly who it was. Let me see. I'll tell you. And it could be different people on staff. Let's see here. So let me just give you an example here. So the White Sox have 4, and they say this in the article. The additions of McKeithen and director of hitting Ryan Fuller, along with Sizemore's new role, leave the White Sox with 4 voices offensively at the big league level to help them improve after they were the worst team in baseball with the bats in 24. Now, do you guys, let me ask you this. If there's a team leader, is it better to have one guy leading the team or 4 who are going to have different opinions? No, I doubt it was Mike Tassar. I doubt it was Mike Tassar. But this is like, let's see here. This is actually fun for me to look into this. Joel McKeithen. All right, so this is it's like if you I can promise you guys this. So like this is the bio of the former hitting coach for the Reds, who I guess he got fired, I don't know. Joel McKeithen, and now he's he's one of the hitting coaches for the White Sox in the major leagues. Played at Vanderbilt. Doesn't say anything about his career. Transferred to North Carolina State and finished his college baseball career. I don't know if he. Let's look it up. I mean, all right, we're looking it up. All right, so this guy was in college, 100 career 188 hitter in college. Didn't really play, like 26 games at Vandy, 24 games, 25, 50 plate appearances, 49 plate appearances, 113, or sorry, not 113, 119 at NC State, where he hit 178 as a senior. And okay, so that's him in college. Did not play pro ball. In 2019, that was in, let's see here. Let's see what year it was he was done playing college. He was done playing in college in 2015. I think he should have been done in 20. He was the same age as me. So we're the same age, okay? Let me explain something to you. This guy played at the exact same time as me in college. Did not play in college. Essentially, was a bench warmer, got some at-bats, 188 career hitter in college. And that might include his, I don't know if that includes his summer ball where he hit 316, but I don't know. Okay, so that's his playing experience. Hit a 188 hitter in college. Now, for 4 years, don't know what he's doing. He's probably giving lessons, I don't know, working at a facility or something. In 2019, McKeithen served as a minor league hitting coach for the Williamsport Crosscutters, a farm team in the Philadelphia Phillies organization. Okay. Minor league hitting coach. He was the minor league hitting coordinator for the Detroit Tigers in the 2021 season. So he oversaw the minor league development of hitters for the Detroit Tigers. Now, I interviewed for the Tigers in 2021, actually, to be the outfield and base running coordinator and hitting coach. They offered me a minor league hitting coach job, and I was told I was not. I wasn't experienced enough to be an outfield base running coordinator. Now I played it. I played all the way in AAA, 290 career hitter. My dad ran Major League Baseball teams my whole life. I talked to a GM every single day my whole life about baseball, about strategy, about how to play the game. Was an All-American in college. I was not, according to their farm director, I was not experienced enough to have that position. But this guy was. This guy's experienced enough to be the minor league hitting coordinator. Okay. After one season as the minor league hitting coordinator for the Tigers, the Cincinnati Reds hired McKeithen to their major league coaching staff as their assistant hitting coach. On November 29th, 2022, so the next year, the Reds promoted McKeithen to be their primary hitting coach for the 23 season. Now, do you guys understand what's going on in Major League Baseball now? Do you guys understand? Now, if you go through every major league coaching staff, you will, on a lot of them, you will find a guy with this exact same or worse resume, meaning, didn't even play in college, or maybe played at some very small JUCO out in the middle of nowhere, and then worked at a facility for like 3 or 4 years, and now they're in a big league coaching staff. Now, I can promise you guys this. If I reached out to a lot of the guys I know in the big leagues right now, coaches, I have some really good relationships. I probably wouldn't even get a interview. But guys like this are coaching big league hitters. Now, do you think this guy has any idea how to formulate an approach? I can tell you what this guy does. He, has a driveline certification, which you can get done in like no time at all. And because he has a driveline certification, now he is automatically thought to be one of the best hitting coaches in the world, right? It's insane. And again, I'm not saying that everybody with this kind of resume doesn't know what they're talking about. But this is what I always say. You don't necessarily need to have played at a high level to be a great coach. But it sure is a very good indicator that you know what you're talking about if you played, if you were successful, and especially if you weren't like the most talented guy, but you still had a lot of success. Because you hit a baseball using a CPU screen? What are you talking about, Jared? What are you talking about, Jared? A CPU screen. I hit a baseball with a CPU screen. What are you talking about? Or are you talking trash about how like they look at a spreadsheet and that's how they think of hitting? I think that's what you're saying. You were significantly more qualified for the job. And it's like, I don't really care. I would love to have a job like that. Don't get me wrong. I'd love to. But it's just crazy to me. Like there's so many good players out there. Like a Chris Colabello who could be, I mean, just give me a break. You know what I mean? Like it's not that some of these guys maybe whatever don't deserve to be hitting coaches. But there's so many better options out there. And don't even include me in that. There's so many better options out there. All right, Jared, I got what you said now, man. I will say some of our worst players and bench warmers have went on to become head coaches. Yeah, because like think about it like this. There is something to like a lot of superstars, like Barry Bonds, for example, when he talks about hitting, he talks about I was just catching the ball with my bat. Now, if that worked for him, but if you try to tell that to a normal hitter, they're like, "What? Okay, I'm gonna try to catch it." Does it work? Doesn't work for most guys. But a really good indicator, and some of the best coaches are guys who had success, but they weren't the most talented guy, right? They're guys that they were successful because of how they mentally approached the game, how they thought about the game, how they saw the field, how they reacted to situations. They understand the game, right? That was my strength. I was not like, in high school, was I really talented compared to the next kid? Yes. In college, was I more talented than a lot of guys? Probably. In pro ball, I was not even close to the most talented guy on any field I played. No way. The reason I had success in pro ball is because I was way better at this part of the game than almost anyone on the field. And we're not seeing that being applied at the next level. So that's just one example, guys. Actually, funny thing is I looked through, I did this yesterday because I saw some article or something, and I started going through major league coaching staffs, and I'm just like reading the resumes of these guys. And I'm like, what are we doing? So who knows? I don't know. Maybe guys, after this season, I'm going to text like all the guys I know really well on big league coaching staffs and be like, "Hey, I'd love to interview for a job. So let's see how it goes, you know?" And I guarantee you it'll be like, I don't know about that. And what you find with a lot of these guys, actually, I was reading. I was actually like I think he's the major league hitting coach for the Brewers. He played at like a run of the like very out in the middle of nowhere JUCO in like Kansas City, and then he was done. And then he was coaching at like a high school, and then he was about to coach it. It was like coaching 1 year at maybe that same JUCO or a different JUCO, and he got a job offer with the Mariners to be a hitting coach. Well, he was a hitting coach in the AZL. which is like where the which is where like the 17, 18-year-old Latin American players go, and like the high school position players go, and some pitchers. So you're coaching like a lot of those kids never leave the AZL because they get weeded out. They're just not good. And he went from there, I believe, from coaching in the AZL. Listen, he went from played at a JUCO. I don't know how successful he was. I don't think he was any good or bad, whatever, to coaching in the AZL professional baseball, and then to Milwaukee Brewers assistant hitting coach. But if I interviewed, they would say, well, you haven't coached in pro ball or something. Well, I turned down like 4 jobs because I was having my first kid, and you were going to pay $61,000 a year, and I was going to be gone 7 months a year. I get it. Maybe, whatever. But like, if you're telling me that I don't meet the requirements because I didn't coach in A ball for a few years beforehand, but this guy can coach in the AZL and he never played professional baseball and really never played high level college ball. Okay. That's it. Mark, technology wonks who transition to sports think they can disrupt the game and make quick changes with new concepts. No surprise. Imagine all the kids who he screwed up. This goes back to my day. No, it's insane. And you guys get it, but like it's insane what is, and like, again, I'm not trying to be judgmental or like generalizing. I'm just saying like that if I see that resume as a big league hitter, I'm going, yeah, this guy's gonna have to prove that he knows what he's talking about. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's like part of me saw that yesterday and I was blown away. And that was after looking at one team. And then I went through like 10 teams and I was just like, what is going on? And some of them, again, were accompanied with a guy another hitting coach who had playing experience, which, okay. But some of them aren't. A lot of them aren't. Computer analytics. And then we have some ballers who are head coaches as well. Yeah. Anyways, I'm off my TED Talk for the day. Let's see here. But it's insane. That's what's going on, right? That's what's going on. And again, I'm not trying to, they may know everything about the swing. They may be really good swing coaches, which is kind of a better way to call them. If you never competed in a box against the highest level of pitching, I don't think you can really be considered a hitting coach. If you know really about the swing mechanics, and so you're a swing coach, I guess. But if you're trying to adjust people's swing in the middle of a major league season when they're facing the best pitchers in the world, that is not a good idea. And what most of those guys need is, hey, what's your approach? Like, what are we thinking in the box? What are we thinking with 2 strikes? What are we doing here? What's your thought process facing a sinker slider guy? What's your thought? Okay, this guy's a 4-seam breaking ball guy. He's going to ride at top of the zone. He's going to play the breaking ball off the 4-seam, get you to take it up. Like, let's strategize. You don't need to know anything about the guy's swing to understand, okay, how do we attack that? Where are we looking? Where are we looking in the zone? Where are we trying to stay away from? And again, that's just not something that's being really talked about at all. Do you dislike the Moneyball strategy? No, I don't. I think analytics in general has been a bonus for baseball. The problem is when teams just go like all in analytics and forget about like a lot of the baseball knowledge that people have. And again, Moneyball is, they conveniently leave out that that the A's had kind of the best rotation in the big leagues. Barry Zito, Tim Hudson, Mark Mulder, Rich Harden. So like Like, how do you lose with that pitching staff all in their prime? There were like 3 Cy Young winners basically in their starting rotation, and Rich Harden, I believe, won Rookie of the Year that year or a year prior or whatever. And I'm a baseball nut, so I remember all that. And that was my first thought with the movie. And my dad said the same thing. My dad's like, "No, I like the movie, but like, first thing he said, I don't want Billy Bean, because he knows Billy well, right? Because my dad was a GM." And I think the first thing was like, I can't wait to tell Billy, like, don't start getting a big head because Brad Pitt played you. You do not look like Brad Pitt or something like that. And then the second one was like, they happen to have like the best rotation in the big leagues or one of the best 2 or 3. So that was a large part of it. Now, was there, and what you understand is that now analytics guys look at Moneyball like it's idiotic. Just so you guys know, Moneyball, that is not what anyone's doing now. Because on base percentage really is on base percentage was like big valued with the A's at that point. Now all they care about is slugging, really. They don't care, because I was a high on base guy. Milwaukee Brewers could have cared less. And so slugging, it's like, when teams say they value OPS or whatever, what they're saying is we really value slugging and like on base percentage sum. Slugging is the most important stat for most of these teams now. And so again, if you're in the minor leagues and you know that, you're just going to try to slug. Like, that's all you're going to try to do. Anyway, so I got to jump off, guys. Great conversations again today. We got baseball. We got some baseball tonight. We got a big weekends coming up, but we'll be back again tomorrow, talking shop. And appreciate you guys chatting and everything, guys. This is best time of year. And we'll have kind of some spring training games coming up soon too. So see you later. I think they may already